listening to the Pasco Podcast with Mike Carballa. Welcome to Season 3 of Pasco Podcast, a series about leadership and public service. We'd like to thank our sponsors, the nearly 600,000 people of Pasco County, as represented by the Board of County Commissioners. It's through their trust and empowerment of our workforce and leadership team that we're able to bring you this podcast. This podcast is designed to help public servants build leadership skills and leverage them for success by sharing the experiences of our peers.
Hi, I'm Mike Carballa, and welcome to our 37th episode of Pasco Podcasts. Chances are you're well into the swing of the holiday season by now. And as the festivities and celebrations get underway, we do want to take a second to talk a little bit about how to handle the stress and emotions that can come along with this busy season. Joining us today to help us tackle this topic is our Cooperative Extension Director, Whitney Elmore, and our Employee Wellness Coordinator, Jackie Carlton. Whitney, Jackie, welcome. I'm glad that you guys are able to be here. Before we get started, why don't you talk to us just a little bit about yourselves and how you came to Pasco County? Jackie, we'll start with you.
Okay, good. Well, I am a multi-generational Floridian, about 7 generations.
That's rare. That's rare.
Yeah, it is. And from Central Florida, born and raised. I've been married about 33 years and have 2 daughters, ages 30 and 25. Been a nurse for over 32 years now. And in that career, I did that's a great thing about nursing. You can try lots of different things. So surgical services was most of my career.
Okay.
Hospice, education, navigator, coordinator in different service lines. So
Gotcha. And now you're our wellness coordinator.
Yes.
Okay.
And so what was happening is that the last place where I was working, I was navigator, and something called COVID happened. Mm-hmm. And COVID was very stressful, as you can imagine, in the trenches.
Absolutely.
And I was witnessing some things I just, wasn't really super comfortable with or not. And my husband was having some health problems at the time. And so sometimes you have to pick your career or your job and your family. And I said, I'm just going to pick family, and maybe I'll just step away from nursing for a bit. And this opportunity came, and
Wonderful.
I am very thankful.
So you've been with us in just for a few years now, then?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years in end of November.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, Whitney, you've been with us a little longer, but why don't you talk to us a little bit about your path here and your background?
Yeah, I've been here in Pasco for 9 years now.
Okay.
So very happy to be here.
You're part of the class of 2014, I guess, with the rest of us then. That's when I came as well.
Yes,
so, okay.
Yes. It was in September of 14. So originally from Kentucky. So hence the accent. That's where it comes from. But went to Western Kentucky University have degrees in agriculture, found my way to University of Florida for my doctorate in plant pathology. Then I found my way up to Georgia, where I was a professor up there. And while I was there, I had folks in extension at UF that kept calling me saying, come back, come work for us in extension. And I honestly always knew my heart was in extension because of the work. It's servant leadership. Mm-hmm. And so I said, okay, find me the right county to be in. Where I can make an impact, where I can be a good part of the community. And they said, come interview in Pasco County. And I'm thankful that I did.
Wonderful. Well, we're glad to have you. And, so your background, right? And a lot of agricultural background and stuff, but you've taken on mental health kind of on a mantle. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about the programs that you have personally run and been involved with and being an advocate for mental health? Because it's a big deal around this time of year.
It is a very big deal. And we tend to kind of forget that when we're not experiencing or have loved ones that are experiencing mental health crisis this time of the year. We tend to think of this as being a joyous time of the year. Mm-hmm. And it is, and it should be. But it's also a very difficult time for folks that, are experiencing depression, have lost loved ones, are going through difficult times. It kind of magnifies. This time of the year magnifies what they're experiencing. And I'll tell you, at first you go, well, okay, you're a plant pathologist and you've got degrees in agriculture. How in the world did you find your way over into mental health? So, it goes back several years. And I had a very rude awakening, to be honest with you. I was in my office here in Pasco County, and an individual from another department, a county employee, was in our office and experienced a severe mental health crisis. It was traumatizing for my team to witness. It was incredibly traumatic for everybody. And I started making calls, trying to find out how to help this individual. Could not figure out how to help them. I muddled my way through, and it was a blessing how I figured out how to help this individual that day and get them to a safe space. And there was an element of luck involved. And I sat at my desk as soon as I got this individual in a safe space, and this sudden realization hit me right in the face. I have all of this education, but nobody has ever taught me how to assist somebody in a mental health crisis. I did not know how to help them. I did not know how to help my team process what they had experienced. And I didn't know how to help myself process what we had experienced. And I turned around at my computer and I searched mental health training immediately. And mental health first aid popped up from the National Mental Health Council. And I started researching that training program. It originated in Australia 20-something years ago. It's made its way to the United States. It's a very straightforward program. It's easy concepts of this is how you assist somebody in these situations. And, I went to my county, assistant county administrator, Kathy Pearson, and I said, Kathy, we've got to address what's not being addressed with, our employees. And I need some funding to take this course. And she said, absolutely. And it was so profound. For something so simple, it was so profound. I said, I want to become an instructor and learn how to teach this to other people because it applies to everybody. And, I had started doing some SWOT analyses for other departments in the county, and did not matter the branch, did not matter the department. I was hearing over and over again, I need somebody to care about my mental health. I need help. I need help with my family, with my colleagues, and I'm dealing with the public that are coming in and having mental health issues. I don't know what to do. And so there was a huge need. And I got training. I started working with a colleague at Penn State University to offer that training here in Pasco to county employees. And it has been the most rewarding of all of the programs.
Yeah, and I've talked to those that have been through the program. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to do it yet.
I took her program.
Did you? So what did you think of it, Jackie?
Excellent. I tell everybody every time you get the opportunity, you should take it. And I was telling Whitney earlier is that I wish I would have had this, 10, 20 years ago. My surgeons, my doctors, my staff, high stress, you're in the trenches. It's hard and you don't know how to navigate or work through that. And so unfortunately we did lose some members, and unfortunately we did have some crises happen for us as well. Yeah. And even though we're medical people, we were also feeling that same way, like, what do I do now? How do we help, the most? And so I think that having courses like that and taking them, not only does it really trains you to know what to do, who to call, how to handle it, what to say, not to say, those kind of things. But it also, I think it helps you just feel like you're more empowered, right? And because it's just, it could be anywhere. We could be in our grocery store. We could be with our coworkers. We could be with our family. And if we're not understanding it or, having empathy for it, for mental health, then it doesn't help anybody. So
it shines a light. It shines a light on something that probably 10, 15 years ago was probably just kind of considered, don't really talk about it. And we always say, it's okay to not be okay. I've been to counseling, I've used our EAP program and quite honestly, it's there when you need it. And there's a lot of great opportunities that are coming up. Can't really talk about them until until the board votes and some of the stuff, but there's some great ideas and projects out there to help even provide more immediate assistance. But this training is phenomenal. I've worked in industry 25, 30 plus years here. And not once has anyone really ever focused on mental health. And yet it's, we're thinking, feeling creatures and feeling being part of that, and how we feel impacts how we interact with others, it's on so many levels.
I get probably every week, I probably get 2 or 3 calls
Yeah.
about EAP or mental health related.
Right. How does this work?
So,
And I know we're focused on the holidays here, but you talked a little bit about job stress, right? Medical profession. We talked on a previous podcast about first responders, and we're spending some money there for, because just the nature of the job. But you just look at the day-to-day grind of what our employees and other people are doing and feeling, and just living life in general is much, much harder and stressful now, I think, than it ever has been. And there's so many new things out there. So I'm grateful that you've taken it. I hope that we can continue to roll this out. I know there's only one Whitney, but getting as many people through that, I think it's important as leaders, supervisors, managers, just employee to employee, to know and recognize that to help each other out. Jackie, how about you? What type of programs are you working on in your particular role?
So for our wellness workshops, we have quite a few mental health. We just had a 4-part big care wellness series. We had one today actually on burnout and resiliency.
Okay.
We have the last one, conflict resolution, and we're actually bringing them over to the West Side starting February and March in the BOCC boardroom here. So that is with Tracy Daniels and Big Care. And so they've been very well received. We do the yoga for stress relief.
Love it. I do yoga.
I do too. I love it. Yeah. So we have, it's just chair yoga. It's 30 minutes, and it started to finally take off this year. And so anybody that wants that for their department, I have the person that I can bring to you. And
this is chair yoga, you said, though.
Chair yoga.
So you're sitting in a chair.
You're sitting chair, you stand
You're
up.
not in a chair pose, right?
No, but you could. You could do that. You could do that. But this is for everybody.
Okay.
And so it's really just stretching, deep breathing, relaxation, give you a break.
Focusing on your breath. There's a lot to be said that calms you down.
There is that mindfulness for sure.
Awesome.
That's an important aspect too. It's that self-care.
Yeah.
Self-care, right?
You can't help anybody else if you can't take care of yourself.
Right.
So it's the oxygen mask analogy, right, on the airplane, right?
Yes.
So during the holidays, we always tend to have a lot of social obligations, right? And balancing work and all this other stuff. How can that pressure affect our mental health? And are there any ways that we can help folks, manage those expectations without feeling overwhelmed? I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
I can speak for myself as a middle-aged woman. I think learning to say no sometimes, just have your list, find out where your priorities are, keep with those. Don't think you have to be everywhere, do everything, say no sometimes. And then just the quality. Think of what you want to do. What do you really want to do for the holidays? Who do you really want to spend it with?
Right.
And then just let everything else go. Just let it go. And again, I work on that myself. So I will say that it took me probably to middle age to try to figure that out. Because otherwise you miss it. You miss the whole, the happiness of it that she was talking about.
Yeah. And it's all well-intentioned, right? But then it just has this tendency.
It just gets you overwhelmed. It can get you overwhelmed. Yeah. So that's what I would say.
I think it's a very wise comment there is, and it's something we don't tend to recognize until we get older and we get overwhelmed, completely and utterly overwhelmed, where we're forced to say no.
Yeah.
But learning to say no before we're at that point.
Yeah.
And just like you were saying earlier, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to say no to these kind of obligations and to prioritize. It's okay if you need to take a break from the world.
Yeah.
And that means a party. It's okay if you don't want to go to a party or go out to eat or something. Just let people know. I think it's important to be honest. And when we're talking about mental health, there's always such a stigma around the issue of mental health. And people are afraid to say, I don't want to go to that party, because I'm just not feeling myself, or I'm not, I've got other things that I need to do. They don't want to disappoint somebody. They may feel that their job's going to be in jeopardy if they don't go to a function or something. But we've got to move beyond that, and we have to be honest. And the only way to move past that stigma is to talk about these things and to say to somebody, I really need some time to myself. I would need to read a good book, or there's a couple of movies I need to watch, or I need to be with the kids tonight, type thing. admit those kinds of things. And because that starts to break down those stigmas, it also allows other people around you to go, okay, I'm going to touch base with you later on just to go, how you doing?
Make sure you're okay.
Do we want to have coffee sometime? Just sit down. It gives them an opportunity to reach out to you. And it gives them an opportunity to say down the road, I'm not okay either.
Right.
And it just starts to tear down those walls. But beyond that, I think relying on what makes you have joy in your life. And that can look like going to an extension event, let's say.
Shameless plugs here, huh?
Shameless plugs. Tons of activities and events. It may be that, you go to the movies.
Sure.
Whatever it is that allows you to unplug from the reality of the world, just for a few minutes. It's all about self-care, finding those things that are productive, that don't harm you or harm somebody else, that are not things that could end up causing you more trouble down the road. Don't turn to the alcohol. Don't turn to the, the drugs or the gambling. And
which
those
is the
types of
easiest
things.
way to cope sometimes is
you
with
get to
substance.
the self-soothing behaviors.
Yeah, we have in wellness for the little plug. We got wellness. We have a 12 days of self-care. So Bricklight, who works with me, helps me with wellness. We came up, we were going to do gratitude, but she says, what do you think about 12 days? Like 12 days of Christmas, but do 12 days of self-care. So if you signed up for that, you get to play the bingo, and we've got some really great prizes for that. So it's just to kind of make you stop. And I won't tell you what's on the bingo card, but it's all about taking care of you. Take care of you.
Yeah. Well, good points, right? Saying no, being honest, both with yourself and others. What about those who unfortunately suffer loneliness? They may be separated from family for whatever reason. They may have lost loved ones during the holidays. I'm sorry, during the year or whenever. And this especially sometimes these first seasons. What can you do to kind of help foster that sense of connection or belonging for these folks?
And that's something. I lost my dad when I was 20 years old. I had just turned 20, lost him to cancer. He was 52, way too young.
Oh, that's young.
Way too young. And I lost him January 26th. So it was Christmas Eve when we knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
So this time of the year always subconsciously even triggers depression in me and other members of my family. And as all these years have gone by, that was 1996. So I'm telling my age here, but it was 1996 when he passed away. And all these years later, I might not even consciously at first recognize that's what's going on, what's driving me to go, you know what, it's Saturday. I'm just going to stay in the bed all day.
Yeah.
And then it'll finally hit me and go, oh, it's that time of the year. So reaching out, letting others know is important there. When you are suffering, being honest about it, recognizing what's going on, talking, finding a counselor, finding a therapist, utilize those professionals. And there are so many. Sometimes it might mean medication, working with a physician. There are groups. There are grief counseling groups that I've got friends that they still go to after losing family members many years ago. Yeah. And it's been very therapeutic for them. So continuing to look for those outlets and assisting people to say, here's an opportunity to get some help or to find this outlet, and not giving up. You don't have to pressure, people that are already stressed, don't pressure. You've got to help yourself. You got to be careful. Yeah. Those words can really hurt. And
they could compound the problem too, right?
And
add
we can
to the stress.
think we're helping when we say, pull yourself together. You got to pull yourself together. You're going to be okay. It's not that big of a deal. In our minds, sounds like I'm helping you. And to them, it's going, you're dismissing me.
Mm-hmm.
And they're shutting down further and they're shutting you out. But saying things like, it's got to be very hard.
Right.
I understand what you're going through. And here's what's helped me. or other people, and just having a line of communication, even if they're not open to that cup of coffee right now, saying whenever you are ready to sit down and chit chat, just call me. I'm here.
Yeah.
And reminding them every blue moon, I promise they will take you up on it somewhere down the road when they're ready.
Yeah. Jackie, anything to add there?
I think, I'm thinking of the people that might have moved into the area too. I mean, naturally, when we lose our loved ones, holidays trigger lots of memories. So that's for sure. But if you're, say it's a new person that came into the area, or just you're by yourself because whatever reason you're by yourself.
Or even our young folks, young employees out on their own for the first time,
right,
I mean, even kids going off to college sometimes.
Right. I was thinking, for them, the thing that I would suggest, I think if I put myself in their shoes, what would I do? And I think volunteering actually could be a great way to meet people. It'll make you feel better about yourself. You just have to find something, whether it's animal services or whatever things you like, right? The things that you feel passionate about that you like. Just say, I'm not going to sit by myself and just be lonely and sad or whatever. I'm going to, like I said, empower myself, or I'm going to do the work and I'm going to do something to make it better.
Gotcha. Encourage them to get out and go do things.
I think it's important to remember our senior citizens in this aspect.
Absolutely.
Too, because they suffer a lot of loneliness day in and day out.
It's true.
And some of them have visitors and some have none. So remembering them, especially, those that we are close to or related to, but just volunteering to go and sit for 20 minutes with somebody can really turn their world around.
No, it's best.
Yeah. I mean, for those of us that are, shored up and in a good spot where we are, just kind of giving back in that way. Because you're right. I did a tour with our Meals on Wheels team, and it was utterly amazing that, for some of these folks, it was happy to see that driver and that connection with that food delivery was there, but, it kind of breaks your heart a little bit too, at the same time that they're looking forward to this 5-minute encounter, once a week that means so much to them. We talk about support systems. Both of you kind of talked about family and going and doing things. Can any other things that we want to add about those? Because those support systems are important. What role do those really play? I mean, is that kind of a the biggest thing that you think folks really need to latch on to?
I think for our human connection, it's really, really important that you have someone, and you have that connection. You share and you share back and forth. You listen. I think you need to be present with them. If you're going to be the holidays with them, be present. That's all I would say is that if you're asking about our own families,
of course,
if you're asking, it's very important. I think part of our human nature is that we're not really meant to always be alone. Sometimes we want to be alone, and that's good too. But when it comes to it, just savoring those times that you have. I know for me, I have a 25 and 30-year-old, so if I get them home, man,
it's like
you're
smothering them.
I'm that older person who's like, I'm so happy to have a visit. Thank you for the visit.
Whitney, anything to add on that?
Honestly, I think it's important for us to remember that our county employees, like you were mentioning, Meals on Wheels. And sometimes, I know that through Extension, a lot of programs that we offer, we are coming in contact with folks that sometimes have very little connection with anybody else for a wide variety of reasons. And it spans age groups. We have some individuals that approach us that have been to doctor after doctor. They've been to health departments, and they're experiencing a type of psychosis where they feel that they have insects in their bodies.
Oh.
And it's kind of driven family out of their lives in some cases. So, we're kind of trying to navigate how best to help them walk through what is essentially a mental health condition. And we've got county employees on all these different levels, parks and rec and libraries and animal services, the utilities folks, all of them, in one way or another, are interacting with our public.
Yeah.
And playing a role in that human connection.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's just really important, and it's very easy to overlook because we all have a job. We all have our jobs, which are important, but it's very easy to overlook that human connectivity part of what a county employee does. We're servants.
We are, right? Serving our citizens.
We are servants.
Yep.
You know, you county administrator, you are a servant. In one way or another, you are serving the citizens of this community. And so we are settling disputes sometimes. We're helping people solve problems, you know, and it's important that our employees know they've got to take care of themselves, because it's easy to go home and internalize what we're seeing on the job and carry that with us and go, and that's tough. I can't fix every problem that I see out there in somebody's life. So taking care, I think, finding those avenues of self-care is critically important. Utilizing the EAP, I think, is very critically important. Going to your doctors and saying something is wrong. And if that doctor won't listen, find one who will listen. Don't walk away. You would not walk away from thinking you have a heart condition.
Right.
You're going, something's wrong with my heart, right? You would find a doctor that will listen to you and help you. Don't walk away when something is wrong, you know, mentally.
But, you know, Whitney, and let's pull on that thread just a little bit there, you know, the physical manifestation of like a heart problem or something like that, right? You know, oftentimes you can kind of feel this, but I mean, there's some people that, quite honestly, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I told you before, I've used EAP, carrying around baggage for 25, 30 years, didn't really think I had any thoughts and issues. And then, whoa, when you start getting it out, I mean, it's almost like, why wait? I mean, you might as well just go do it anyways and just see where it takes you, because you may have issues you don't even realize you have issues. It's almost like you don't go to it's almost like not going to the doctor and getting a checkup.
And I think that as a nurse, I can just say, a lot of people say, Jackie, I'm not going to go to the doctor because they're going to find something wrong. And I don't want them to find anything wrong.
Right.
So whether it's physical health or your mental health, it doesn't really matter. I mean, but once you know what the issue is, especially if you know it early on, like you're saying, then the easier it is to treat. Unless you let it get worse and worse and worse and worse. And then we're trying to fix it all at the end. And sometimes you can't. But so, I think that's a great point.
I mean, we're human beings, and we are impacted by culture. We're impacted by our experiences from the time we're tiny. And, you know, everything that comes out, we're impacted by TV shows, you know, everything.
Social media, everything. That's the news. I mean, it's all out there.
Everything that comes our way, we're impacted by it. And it does add up and take a toll. So there's nothing wrong with going and having a therapist or a counseling session, even when you feel like everything's fine in my world, because just having someone to talk to that's trusted.
And it's confidential.
Yes.
It's confidential every time. Every time.
Yes.
Always.
Right.
Something we never will, as a county or as wellness or HR, we will never find out who called. We'll never find out why they called. I mean, those kind of things. So it's very important that people know that. And the
conversations you have there are bound too. And there's protections there. So I mean, you go to the doctor once a year, hopefully, you know, for a physical checkup. Why not do the same with your mental health? You know, money and financial strain, especially during the holidays, can be tough. Do you have any advice? You know, I don't know, maybe it's get your best Dave Ramsey going here, but any advice for folks on managing money that can help kind of relieve that kind of stress? Because, you know, money's up there, you know, when you start looking at top list of stressors.
Yeah. So that's one of my pillars, right? Financial health.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So I will tell you, my husband will be happy to hear this, but you have to budget.
Yeah.
You have to budget. And when it comes to the holidays, we needed to save all through the year. Put that little pot there, market Christmas, market whatever, you know, Hanukkah, whatever it is. and market and then just save up and then keep within your budget. It's so hard. That Black Friday and Cyber Mondays were good this year. They're so good. And on your cell phone, it makes it easy. And PayPal makes it so easy, right? And it's delivering to your door, which makes it so easy. But what happens is January, February comes, and then we get those bills, and then you get those interests, and it overwhelms people. And that's where a lot of times, a lot of mental health.
So it's a lag. It's coming in the end of winter, beginning of spring.
So just be aware of that and just know. And again, it goes back to where I learned the hard way is that you don't always have to spend money to show your affections to other people. That quality of time. It took me a little while to figure that out, but sometimes your kids, your husband, that they just want that quality. That's all they want. It doesn't cost you anything.
And I think a lot of times as people get older, it's just the novelty of gifts for a lot of folks.
Right.
It was important when I was 5 and 6. You wanted a lot of neat things, but that mentality needs to change a little bit. But I don't know, Whitney, something to add there?
I remember, and that's something I was going to say, Jackie. I remember when I was about 10. My grandparents, they were on a fixed income. They did not have much at all. And I remember one year, my grandmother saying, we're not going to have money for presents this year. And it was like, it's okay. I understood that concept. And she had been a seamstress. So, but she had terrible rheumatoid arthritis in her hands. And she worked for months to make these little handmade tissue packet, the little small tissue packets, little holders for those. I still have that to this day. And it's one of my most treasured possessions. And, it was made out of pieces of fabric that she'd had for probably 30 years, little scraps laying around. And it really cost her nothing, but it took so much energy and it had love associated with it. And sometimes it is just about, having that discussion if somebody typically would expect a present, or with children, just to explain to them, what, I'm not going with the traditional gifts this year. It's going to be something from my heart. I'm going to make you something, or it's going to be the gift of time with you, quality time. And I think way more people would understand that and appreciate that than we tend to think.
I think you're right too.
The other thing I think is the budgeting aspect is important. Our family consumer sciences agent, Sherry Bresson, works on financial management with a lot of folks. And one of the things that she does is works with them on budgeting through the year for these types of things, but also on credit repair.
Very good.
So I would highly recommend employees reach out to Sherry about helping with credit repair, because she's been able to show some major impacts to help boost folks' credit, their ability to save, even when they feel like they're already on a shoestring budget.
Right.
There is an opportunity to save and really turn things around there. So reach out to those experts. We do have them.
And EAP too. And actually Sherry does some of my Financial Fridays. So she's wonderful. But EAP also, we have financial services free. So you get lots of free sessions. It's just a phone call and they can help somebody.
Wow. So a lot of great programs and things available to our.
We do actually. We have some resources. So if anybody has any questions or anything, they can reach out to me and I'll
use those resources. They're free and they're excellent.
Yeah. And I think that's something that not all of us learned early on. I'm lucky because I'm married to a finance man, but unless you learned that early on, it's hard as an adult when you first start on your how do you stay in a budget? But I really
it's
want
scary
this new
too.
Thing.
Yeah,
and,
scary.
And so it's just trying to put in their priorities. But you have to pay for a mortgage. You have to pay for a car payment. You have to pay for those things. So always make sure that those are all taken care of, and then anxiety will be a little less. When you're within budget and making means.
Yeah, and that's kind of the big thing, is trying to live within your means there. But I know we've talked a lot about it at the holidays and those, but let's just kind of year round. Stress and mental health. It may be a little more acute during these times of year, but it happens during all times of the year. Is there anything or tips or exercises we can incorporate into our daily routines, perhaps, that can help us maintain good mental health throughout the year?
Yeah, I think movement
Okay.
Whatever that looks like to you. It may be walking, jogging, yoga, whatever that looks like. Can be incredibly therapeutic and help relieve stress. It can be meditative at the same time. I think that's very important. But it's finding that thing, whatever it might be, that's not work related, that's not about the kids, that's not about the elderly parents you're taking care of. It's just about you.
Have an outlet, right?
Have an outlet, even if it's 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes a day. I've got an app on my phone. It's a 1 minute break, and it dings in the evening, and it's literally 1 minute that forces me to just stop whatever it is I'm doing and just be quiet. Just be quiet. And you would not believe how much steam that can let off. And then I go right back to whatever I was doing. Yeah. But that 1 minute pause can help me refocus. Our brains can't take more than about 20 minutes of focus at a time. That's anybody's brain. So we need these breaks. We need these pauses. And, just whatever it is to you, whatever that looks like. But a big part of it is moving. Get up and move.
Okay. Jackie.
Yeah, no, I would definitely say exercise, that too. For me, it's nature, fresh air, nature, and, for some people too, like just funny movies or doing something fun. Sure. Just do something fun.
It could be a hobby. It could be anything that you do that kind of helps express you as a person.
And give that to yourself. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm talking my experience. Like you're like, okay, I'm going to take care of everybody else. But sometimes you just got to really take that minute.
I like that. I like how you put that, Jackie. It's a gift to yourself, and so give that gift to yourself. And I think it'll pay dividends.
And it doesn't have to cost anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. In our day and age, we get so many distractions from our phone. We get pulled, from all the things and the social media and all that kind of stuff. And they're finding it's just not really good for our mental health. Yeah. And so we need to take those fasts and those breaks. And again, just, chill or just be.
Yeah, just be. Perfect. Well, over the course of this podcast, we do like to talk a little bit about leadership, and so both of you in your respective fields, what does that look like in your role here in the county? Whitney, I mean, you're department director here, so talk to us a little bit about leadership.
Well, it has a lot of different looks to it, to be quite honest, but I think there's some critically important aspects to leadership, but the very first one that always comes to my mind is being an inspiration to others.
Okay.
So, you've got management, and people tend to confuse that with leadership.
Absolutely.
Being a leader is not the same as managing. I manage paper, I manage time, but I lead people. And to lead means to inspire. To inspire them to want to be their best selves, to want to take care of themselves, and to really, in our role and extension in Pasco County, is to be a servant leader in their role. Whatever their program area is, to lead it is critically important.
Very good. Jackie, wellness coordinator.
So my job is actually to take care of our employees. That's my first and only goal every day when I'm scheduling my day. And so I think trying to lead by example and trying to motivate is what I'm trying to do, and inspire as well. Or use my word, but inspire is part of it. And
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys hit it. It's about people, and we are in the people business when it comes to leading. Any unique leadership challenges that either of you have faced in your roles, whether here at the county or in your careers, and I don't know, just any tips to share how you work through those things.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Always, right? There's always something.
Some PTSD comes flying in there.
Okay. You need a mental health break after this.
I mean, like with my role, it is unique because I work for the University of Florida and I work for Pasco County.
Right.
And not everybody understands that. And finding that balance between the two is very, very difficult. And there are 4 of us in my office that are in that position. We're called extension agents. So we're faculty at the university, but our job is to specifically address needs of Pasco County. That's our specific job. And so melding those roles together is very difficult, especially when you are expected to lead.
Right.
And to get people to follow along with that. We have a lot of volunteers. We have hundreds of volunteers that we work with. So that is a very different aspect than leading employees. They're there for a very different reason.
Right.
And they have different expectations. And so that can be an extremely challenging aspect of what we do every single day, to keep them motivated, to keep them happy, but to also keep them following the mission of the University of Florida and Pasco County, and it can be, people can start to go a little rogue there, and to bring those folks in that are not there for a paycheck can be very, very challenging. Yeah. We work with senior citizens, we work with adults, we work with teens, we work with youth. And so there's a different motivation across all of those age groups. So, leading, the challenge is to first understand what is the motivation for this individual.
Exactly.
And once you understand that motivation, and it takes time and it takes getting to know them. So when you're working with, this, you've got almost 4,000 employees. Mm-hmm. Trying to get to know them is the only way to understand what is their motivation? Mm-hmm. Why are they here? That's the only way you can speak their language, mm-hmm. and work very productively with them and keep them motivated and happy, but also have a very productive employee that's providing what you need. So there are very, very unique challenges across the board.
Yeah. Understanding that. And for each of us, it's so different. And I can only imagine with volunteers, that's quite the challenge, of doing that. Jackie, how about you? Any particular challenges that you faced over the course of your career?
I think one of my number one challenges is communicating. Trying to communicate.
Amen. Yeah. Amen.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So trying to communicate what we're doing, knowing that you might want it or you might not.
Right.
That's my number one. Always trying to work different ways. We're starting to do a little bit boots on the ground, which I was getting ready to do about a year ago, but that helps. It's the same thing you're talking about. We're doing HR on the go. Where I'm doing talks. I'm getting invited to different departments to do talks and things like that. Mm-hmm. And that gives me a chance for the employees to ask me questions and find out what they need to. So that's been really great. So I think communication, and then, the networking, interpersonal skills, all of that, that's really important in my job. And so I'm always trying to work on that. And it's because we're so vast and big, and I'm still trying to understand what everybody does and where they're located. That's been a kind of a challenge. And I think in my role in my position. So
yeah. And communication is and will always continue to be I wouldn't say a struggle, but it's certainly it's so different. I'll never forget. I sat in a budget briefing. I had a large department, kind of, they did a survey internally of, hey, how do you want to be communicated with the employees? And so picture a pie chart with about 8 equal pie pieces, and each pie piece representing a different means and method of communication. So it's like, well, great. There's no low hanging fruit here. We just have to put in the work. Yeah. And that's the thing. Making sure that message gets received. It's on the sender. So as leaders, we have to find ways to always constantly, sometimes creatively communicate with our teams. And on top of that, sometimes depending on where you are in the organization, you're not only communicating that, but you're also interpreting what's coming down, from that. And okay, here's the direction that we're going, but here's what this means in cooperative extension. Here's what this means in wellness, and keeping those team members on board too. So, there's more to come on that here in this organization. It's something I really want to focus on, but we'll get there. Sharpening the saw, we always talk about that. How do you guys continue to build your leadership, your mental health skills? Talk to us a little bit about what it is that you do to stay sharp. Jackie.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, I start my day every day with meditation.
Okay.
Prayer, meditation, mindfulness. If I don't start my day that way, it doesn't usually go as well. Little yoga stretching. I don't have much time, but it definitely helps the day. And then I've started to just stop if something's stressing me or I'm getting frustrated or exasperated or whatever it is, which, like I said, this job is way less than I've had before all the time. So I can say this stress that I have here is nothing compared to the stress that I had before. But every job has it. Every job, it doesn't matter who you are, and everybody has, and just life, like you were saying earlier, just life does. So when those things happen, for me, I'm just starting to stop, recognize what's going on, say, why am I feeling this way? Why am I letting this person make me feel this way? And breathe and just kind of plow through. And that really helps me with my mental health. Yeah.
I'd like it I'm like you, first thing in the morning. If I don't get some of those things out of the way for me personally, they don't get done. And it makes the day wonky, and then finishing out with that. That's good advice there. How about you, Whitney?
So one thing is probably going to make sense. The other's probably going to sound so nerdy, but it's true.
It works for you. Then.
But it works. So the first thing is my drive in and home is roughly 30 minutes.
Okay.
Roughly 30 minutes right now. It's going to get a lot longer, I'm sure. But but
we're working on that.
Yeah. But that time, I like to just listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
And I try my best to have that time where I'm not on the phone about work, unless it's something, critically important. And I'll usually have, my mom or somebody will want to try to call, and I'm like, just that 30 minutes, just to me, and let me jam out to Def Leppard.
Okay.
Just give me a little bit of time just for me,
Yeah.
So that's important. Allows me to focus, and I just don't like to talk in that time period. The other thing is I'm really into always assessing where I'm at in my skills, whether that be my teaching skills and delivery, leadership, especially those types of skills. I feel that we can always be improving. So I'm always kind of assessing, how did today go and what could I have done different? And I'm looking for those opportunities like mental health first aid. How can I do this different? How can I learn? And so I'm always looking to learn new skills. So I do a lot of trainings, and I look for things that are quite specific that's going to give me a toolbox of things I can bring back and utilize. It's not just for the sake of going and sitting. I don't like that whatsoever.
Right,
you got to tell me you got a toolbox for me that I don't already have.
Yeah, practical application of learning,
absolutely.
Right? That's absolutely. And as leaders, as individuals, people, we have to be lifelong learners.
Yeah.
And that is that. Well, listen, ladies, thank you. Thank you both for being here today. It was great to have you here on the podcast.
Yeah.
So this was great. On behalf of all of us here at Pasco County, we wish you and your family a wonderful holiday season and all the best for the new year. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Pasco Podcast. I'm Mike Carballa, and we'll see you next time.
For more information on Pasco County government, please visit mypasco.net and check us out on Facebook and Twitter.